Good day, fellow readers, writers, and book lovers. My name is Megan J. Collins, and welcome to my channel. Today I decided to try a little fun of a challenge with writing. At least I hope it's going to be fun. Where instead of writing at my desk all day, I'm going to be writing on a train, which I get motion sickness. So hopefully that's not going to be the worst. Hopefully I'll be fine. We'll find out. Instead of writing in Jaeger today, I'm going to be writing my short stories. Because if you don't know, every Saturday I post original short stories that I write. That way you can see my writing before Jaeger comes out. So if you would like, you can always watch those videos. And I'll be posting some more new short stories. Anywho, with that all said, I don't want a very long intro today, so let's get into the video. Made it to the train station. I'm only going to be writing for about 4 or 5 hours just because I'm writing on a laptop and there's no plugs on the train, so if my laptop dies, I can't write anymore. I did bring a notebook just in case. Still probably going to write for 4 or 5 hours because that's typically how long I write when I do a writing session now. With that said, let's go on the train. Whenever I start writing, I always make sure to put my hair up into like a claw clip or a bun, just because as I've been doing my author writing routines, which if you don't know are videos that I post typically, I think about once a month, where I follow a different author's writing routine just so I can learn my correct style and improve my writing habits. And while I've been doing that, I've learned that if I put my hair up, I generally get a bit more words than I would if I don't put my hair up. So now I make sure to always do that. Put in the comments how many train carts you see on this first rail. The writing itself wasn't that bad. It was actually pretty easy to write on a train. However, the moving was not the best. Right here is where I started to get a lot of motion sickness, and we weren't even halfway. So not my finest moment, but at least the writing was going well, so I can say that at least. The scenery on this train definitely was not the best. It was pretty drab looking most of the time. There were moments every now and then where it looked really pretty, but the objective is not to look at the scenery, it's to write. So let's get back to that. Even though I was getting motion sickness from riding the train, there were definitely some pros that I found with it. One being that since you're in public, you can't get distracted as easy. You can't go watch YouTube videos or really watch like Instagram reels just because you can't make any noise. At least for me, I find that very disrespectful to make noise on public transportation, so I'm not going to do that. And I purposely didn't bring my headphones, so I had no excuse to do that. Just because of that, you have to focus on writing because there's nothing else you can do, especially since on the train it did have internet, but I didn't use it because the goal is not to go on the internet, it is to do writing. So I couldn't really do anything on my laptop besides writing, which I am thankful for because it made me focus on it the whole 3-4 hours that I was on the train. Another thing I also liked was that there was people on the train. Personally, I find that I really like it when there's some noise while I'm writing, not like music or white noise because that's very repetitive. I like talking when I'm writing just because it's not as repetitive, but it keeps at a typically normal volume. One thing I loved when I was in school, I would always write during class time because just the low murmur of kids talking and whatnot was so relaxing to me while writing. So I definitely need to get more into that and probably add that some way into my own personal writing routine because I definitely loved that and I miss that. So need to do that. Let me know in the comments if there's any places that you suggest where there might be low murmuring or talking like that. I don't think a library would really work because typically there's no talking in a library, and I don't really want to go to like a coffee house just because the smell of coffee gives me migraines. So if you know of any places like that that has talking but not like an excessive amount of talking, put that down in the comments because I did know that during the train ride at the very end where there was lots of people, there was just so many talking and it was overstimulating and I could not write because there was people right in my ear talking. So put that down in the comments for where a good place to write in public would be. You can also put down in the comments any places you want me to write for a challenge, because I want to test out more methods of writing. Like if you want me to go on like a hike and then write like the top of a mountain, or I don't know where else you could have me do, but put that down in the comments for an idea of where I should challenge myself next to writing, because trains might not be the best for me because I get motion sickness. I definitely liked having a fun little challenge while I was writing, and it gave me a goal at the end, so I'd love to hear your ideas. So I'm off the train now. I rode it for about 4 hours. I rode it for about 4 hours and definitely got a bit motion sickness from it, so glad to be on the ground now and heading home. I'm officially back from the train now. It was definitely an experience. There were some pros and cons that I found. A con being the moving. I get motion sickness. I knew that before getting on the train. I knew I'd get sick during it. So definitely got a bit nauseous, and I'm really glad I only wrote for about 4 hours, because if I wrote any longer, it would not have been pretty, okay? That's all I'm gonna say. And there were some pros that I also found with the train. Pro being, I liked that there was talking on the train, just like the low hum of conversation. Personally, I don't like listening to music when I'm writing because I will get distracted with that. But conversation, just like people sitting across the train talking, I like that. I can vibe out to that while I'm writing. Another pro is that it's harder to get distracted if you don't get distracted by people and you like the conversation of people. Being in public, I found you have to be a lot more responsible with your time, because especially if you don't bring headphones, you can't watch YouTube videos, and if you're not hooked up to the internet, you can't do anything on the internet, so you're literally just have your writing stuff. So personally, I liked that there was no excuse for me to get distracted because there was nothing else to do except write. Those were definitely the pros and cons that I found. At the end of the day, I was able to write 3 short stories, so if you like short stories, subscribe to my channel, and every Saturday I post an original short story that I write, so you will definitely find a lot of those on my channel. At the end of the day, I got 1,807 words. Thank you so much for spending your time with me, and see you in the next one.